Welcome to Core Science Academy. Our subject is Music 9 and I'm your teacher, Mrs. Imelda II D. Del Yopa. Our first lesson is Understanding the Music of Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Renaissance is the revival of European art and literature in the 14th to 16th centuries. Renaissance came from the Italian word renascimento, from the renascere, which means to be reborn. So it simply means rebirth. What are the characteristics of Renaissance music? The first one is vocal music was more important than instrumental music. Many songs were accompanied by instruments. Composers during the period wrote music to enhance the meaning and emotion of the text. Renaissance composer used word painting, a musical representation of specific poetic images. Emphasis is on the capturing emotional imagery of a text, expressed in a moderate, balanced way with no extreme contrast of dynamics, tone, color, or rhythm. Renaissance is also known as the golden age of a cappella choral music. So if you will remember, our first characteristic, vocal music was more important than instrumental music. So literally, they don't have instrumental background when they're singing in their choir. So choral singing is only for voices, not for instruments. Next is subjectivity became more apparent in such work of Renaissance madrigals. Keyboard instruments as well as string instruments like the violin and guitar were developed. So keyboard instrument didn't include the piano because the piano was not yet invented during this time. So there are different elements of music that influence the Renaissance era, and they are texture, rhythm, melody, and form. So let's define first these terms. Texture is how the tempo, melodic, and harmonic materials are combined in a composition, thus determining the overall quality of the sound of a piece. Rhythm is the music in time, the basic repetitive pulse of the music. Melody is a timely arranged linear sequence of pitch sounds that the listener perceives as a single entity. And last one is the form. It refers to the structural of a musical composition. So let's study first the texture of the Renaissance music. It is mostly polyphonic. Polyphonic is the multiple melodic voices sounding together. Next one is the homophonic. Texture was used in light music like dances. So homophonic, it can be different voices also, but they have the same rhythmic pattern. And they just using it for dancing, dance music. Emphasis on the bass line. As you can see here, we have an example, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And the bass is on the bottom, so they give more emphasis on the bass line. Consonant chords are favored and triads occur often. Triads means three notes sounding together. We have here an example of a triad and a consonant chord. So this is in C major, the next one is F and then G. So these are all consonant chords, and all the major chords and the minor chords are consonant chords. Next. Rhythm. Renaissance music has great rhythmic independence. If it is a polyphonic music, all the voices have their own independent rhythm and moves more with a gentle flow than a sharply defined beat. So their music are very gentle. They didn't have rock and roll during that time. Next is the melody. Melodies are easy to sing because the melody usually moves along scale with few large lifts, and the melody were usually modal. So we have here an example: Ionian, Dorian, Lydian, Aeolian, Phrygian, Mixolydian, Locrian. So it is like the key of music in the modern time. The first one is in the key of C. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, si to C. Okay, but the next one is Dorian. It's not really key of D because they don't have F sharp and C sharp. Okay, so just give you a bird's eye view of modal. So this is modal. Form. Some of the compositions were written as a single movement in sectional, variation, fugal, or free form. We have here two forms. Sacred vocal forms and secular vocal forms. Sacred means holy. Okay, so most of the time, the musical composition were religious, and they are composing for the Catholic Church during this time. Okay, sacred vocal forms were Gregorian chant or plain music. Gregorian chant terms applied to early symphonic settings of the words of the two main liturgies or services of the Roman Catholic Church, the office and the Mass. Mass means the commemoration or the remembrance of the sacrifice of Christ on the cross, consists of some texts to be sung and others to be recited. The name Mass is derived from the last item, the ordinary ite missa est. Okay, if you can remember, when you're attending the Mass or the service, the priest will say, Katawan at dugo ni Cristo, and there's choir singing. Or if you are a Christian, you have the Lord's Supper. Motet. Motets is a short polyphonic musical composition that is typically set in Latin text, characterized as having cascading passing chords between multiple voices. Anthem. The motet of the Anglican Church, it can be written for full chorus or full chorus with solo voice and instrument. The hymn, strophic settings of Latin text. Catholic Church developed polyphonic settings of this and the Lutheran Church. Okay, hymn, I'll give you an example. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. The next stanza have the same melody as the first stanza. That is strophic. Okay? So that is an example of a hymn. So let's move on to the next vocal form, which is the secular vocal form. We have only one example, which is the metrical, a vocal composition that combines homophonic and polyphonic lectures. A piece where several voices set to a short poem, usually about love. It began around 1520 and differs from the motet, and it's often used for word painting and unusual harmonies. I think the known Philippine madrigal singer got their name from this madrigal. Okay, what are the instrumental forms during the Renaissance period? There are two, canzona and free forms. It is a 16th century form based upon a vocal chanson developed into an original composition for instrument in the same style. Next is a free forms, a wide variety of instrumental composition in the 15th and 16th century that are in a free, irregular, or improvisatory form. If it is free form, it is automatically improvisatory. Okay, don't forget to look for the attachment of these examples in our Schoology. Okay, now we will proceed to the Renaissance composers, and the most famous one was Giovanni Pierluigi da Palestrina. So he was born on February 3, 1525, and he died on February 2, 1526. He was an Italian composer of the Renaissance. He was the most famous 16th century representative of the Roman school of musical composition. Palestrina had a vast influence on the development of Roman Catholic Church music, and his works can be seen as a summation of Renaissance polyphony. His works were 104 masses, 68 offertories, 300 motets, at least 72 hymns, 35 magnificats, 11 litanies, 45 sets of lamentations, at least 140 madrigals, and 9 organ liturgary. He was really a genius. The next one was William Byrd. So William Byrd was the son of a musician. He studied music under Thomas Tallis. He became an organist of Lincoln Cathedral and a chorister in the Chapel Royal in 1563 to 1570. He was named organist and master choristers of Lincoln Cathedral at the age of 20, where he wrote most of his works in English and music for Anglican services. In 1570, he was appointed a gentleman of the Chapel Royal, where he shared the post of organist with his own teacher, Thomas Tallis. Queen Elizabeth I granted him and Tallis a patent to print music in 1575. Imagine if the Queen gave them this. So that's how famous they were. And see, they were working for the nobles and for the churches, because the music before are only for the royals, for the famous, for the rich people only. Okay, and our last composer here is Orlando Di Lasso. So who is Orlando Di Lasso? He wrote a variety of sacred and secular forms, and his works are marked by more subjectivity and passion. He traveled extensively and wrote over 2,000 compositions, including Latin masses and motets, French chansons, Italian madrigals, and German lieder. Imagine 2,000 compositions. So that's how great they were. And he was traveling a lot. Okay, so we will finish our lesson for today. Thank you for watching. Visit our class school year for more explanations, examples, activities, and quizzes for our lesson for today. And if you have some questions, don't hesitate to send me a private message. Okay? Okay, stay safe and God bless us all. Okay, see you again soon. Bye-bye.